Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's live event. It's Home Loan Drew, Andrew Webb with Cross Country Mortgage here in Florida. Shout out to my state. We're talking about solving problems this morning because there seems to be a lot of problems out there. And what we got to talk about is how we can solve them. And so the theme of today's live is solved, okay? We're not going to worry about problems. We're just going to figure out how to solve them. And the goal here is to talk about the common issues that we see that prevent people from buying homes, accomplishing their real estate goals and dreams. Even if you own a home, maybe you have some other goals that you like to do, investing and things like that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get to it right now. So I appreciate you guys being here this morning, 9 o'clock on a Wednesday, September 4th morning. Let's jump into it, guys. We've got a lot to talk about. I mean, there are a lot of different things that people face when it comes to obstacles that they have uh, when it comes to their goals of home ownership. And so let's address them. Most common problems for today's home buyers. We got to talk about it. Okay, we got to talk about um, the big one, which is affordability. That's probably the biggest elephant in the room if you were to point it out. Let's be honest. Okay, that $200,000 house that used to be 200,000 is now 400. That payment that used to be 1,500 is now 2,800. How do we solve this problem for people? We'll talk about that today. All right. The next thing you got to talk about is funds. Right? Americans are running on credit. All right. It's not uncommon. I see it when I look at people's credit. I see what's going on with credit. People are running up credit cards after COVID. They got a little excited, got some stimulus money, and they continue to spend. And so it really is tough on folks because affordability. We know this. The government knows this, right? That's why they're battling inflation and trying to now save the economy from crashing. A lot of different things going on out there when it comes to affordability. So we got an affordability problem. That's number one. Next, second, we've got funds, right? How much do you have available? Do you have uh, funds available for your purchase? So down payment money, right? Skin in the game. How's that going? That's a difficult one for people. That's a problem that people are having to fight against. All right, and then of course, just lack of information is probably a big one too. Lack of understanding how your credit works and what you can do to optimize your credit and use credit to your advantage, not to your disadvantage, to create assets or obtain assets and not liabilities. These are huge things that really we need to address because there's a relatively innocent ignorance out there, and I was one of those folks for a long time, for many years. Got to understand how to use your credit to your advantage. So we're going to talk about that, and then of course, when it comes to homes out there, we've got an inventory crisis, right? So you're good, you go, you got your money, you got your credit figured out, everything looks good, and now you can't find what you love because there's an inventory problem, right? Quite different than 2008, right? When the market crashed back then and there were homes left and right and you could have your pick of the litter, so to speak. Today, we have a bigger problem. Inventory is limited and there are homes still sitting on the market for the normal amount of time now, finally, of 3 months, but they're not all that great, right? In many cases. And the ones that are great and that are priced well, they go quick, very fast. That's the problem for people in the generation of home buying age. All right, or anybody that's looking to get out there and do something. So let's just get to the point of these things. We've got to talk about the different problems that are facing homeowners today or potential homeowners, and let's get to the solutions. All right, now let's talk about the first thing, down payment. Okay, let's get right into it because I feel like you've got a situation out there where people are struggling to uh, find the money to come up with uh, their home purchase or come up with the money for their home purchase. And we've got to address this. It's a real problem because, again, affordability is a crisis for a lot of people. Cost of living has increased. And now we've got people that aren't able to save. So, what do you do? Well, the first thing is let's just be clear. If you have a goal of buying a home in the future, you need to start focusing on that goal years in advance if possible. All right. And so, what this looks like is someone that wants to buy a home when they're 20 years old, 21, 22, 23 years old, well, at 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, they need to start saving slowly and steadily because a lot of times that's the only way to actually create that snowball where you can save enough. Now, if that's not something you can do, or if you're highly motivated, you're like, you know what, I want to do something now. Well, of course, there's down payment assistance. Okay, as that scrolls by. And so there are different programs out there that are available for first-time homebuyers. Can I introduce you guys to one? Now, I'm here in Florida, as you can see, lovely state, and we've got a program here, and it's available in about 22 other states. We've got a program here that's called CCM Community Promise. This program is a grant program. Let's talk about the difference between a grant and repayable funds. Grant program, just like your student loans, grants are given and not expected to be repaid. Loans or loans or repayable programs require that you pay that money back to the program. So this is not a loan. Okay, this is a grant program. Let's talk about it. Here it is. Here's a flyer on it. CCM Community Promise Grant, a $6,500 grant that allows people to buy a home anywhere and receive up to $6,500 in down payment assistance. It's phenomenal opportunity, but there's requirements. Well, one of the best things about this is that it's a normal conventional loan, but it goes based on where you live, not where you move. There are no income limits on this program. The minimum score is 620. If you're putting a little bit down, you're going to need slightly higher scores in most cases, but we can look at that. We'll talk about credit repair here in a minute. But this is an exciting opportunity because basically you've got the opportunity to put a significant amount of money from the lender, right? And from this program down instead of your own funds. So this really solves the problem, right? For a lot of people, but you got to live in an eligible area. I can check that for you or someone that you know, and we can see if that's something that's doable for them. So that's ultimately what's available as far as Community Promise Grant. If you want some more information on that, reach out to me and we can discuss that. But that program is phenomenal. Also comes with a free appraisal, by the way. So let's talk about other things out there. Okay, so we've got a problem with down payment. Let's talk about ways that we can save, right? So we want people to save. We're going to utilize apps out there that allow you to save slowly over time. Okay, there was an app called Opportune. I think the name has changed, but we'll get you that information in the comments here. But basically, there are apps out there that allow you to automatically save, automate your savings. So basically, you go in, you set your goal, right? Okay, I want to save up $5,000 over the next 2 years. And what you do is, or $10,000 over the next 2 years, and you set it, and then it links to your account and automatically pulls the funds from your savings account slowly but surely, daily, right? Maybe skip a day because it sees that your balance is running low. Maybe it grabs a little more the days that you have a lot of extra money sitting in there. It makes sure that you're paid first and saving first before you spend. These apps are very, very useful for those who are interested in saving over time. All right, so that's a good tip for you, and that tip was given to me by a borrower. Go figure. So, all right, so now we get into solution 2, or problem number 2, really, which is we're talking about solutions here. Okay, credit repair. This term is interesting because many cases you can do it yourself, but there are companies out there that will give or provide credit repair. Credit is an obstacle though, because like I mentioned earlier, there's kind of this ignorance about how to go about fixing your credit, managing your credit, so on and so forth. You got to understand that it's not that hard, but you've got to work with someone or be educated on how to do it. Okay, so we'll take a second and we'll talk to, or we're not talk to, we're going to take a second and go to a slide here, and it talks about credit. All right, and so let's bring this to the stage here. What makes up your credit score? What is your credit score? It's like the biggest mystery in the world. I just did a in-person seminar on this locally in an apartment complex because I want people to understand what's going on and how they can facilitate or understand their credit and facilitate the most optimized scores possible. Your credit's made up of basically 5 buckets. Now, there are a ton of different types of credit report or credit scores out there and calculation models, but this is generally the gist of it here. Okay. You've got 10% is new credit. How new is your credit, right? So 10% of your score, which ranges anywhere from 350 to 850, 10% is what's new. All right. Now, you've also got 10% of types of credit. What's the mix of credit that you have? Do you have some auto loans or installment debt mixed with some revolving debt or credit cards, mixed with some mortgages, mixed with some personal loans, mixed with some lines of credit, right? You want to be well diversified on your types of credit. That's a part. So there's just the two of those. Making sure you have credit for as long as possible, credit lines that are open as long as possible, and then also making sure that you have good types of credit or a good mix of credit is important. That's 20% right there. Length of credit history, there you go. Making sure that you have accounts that stay open for a long time. So be careful when you go to potentially close those older accounts. That can hurt. And then here's the big meat and potatoes of your credit scores: the amounts owed and the payment history. I recently had someone who saw their credit score jump from or drop from the high 700s to the low 600s. We're talking about 150 plus points just because a card got maxed out. It's very important to understand that the credit companies or credit bureaus are looking at what risk you are. Okay, what is your level of risk? If they give you 10, will you take 11? Will you take 10? That's risky. Okay, but if they give you 10 and you take 1, 2, or 3, that demonstrates restraint, self-control, responsibility, and not being in a situation where you're desperate for the utilization of credit. So this is important. You got to understand that's 30% of your credit score. That's a big chunk of score. And you got to understand how to make sure that you manipulate that or you control that in a way that's going to best optimize your credit. And then, of course, payment history. This is huge. This is the biggest aspect of your credit score. Payment history is huge. Why? Because basically, if you demonstrate that you're acutely in a crisis, you are highly risk or a high risk to creditors. So it's almost like I had a gentleman describe it once as being on a ladder. If you climb to the top of a ladder, that's your credit score ladder, right? Scores are fantastic. You're at 850 and you miss a payment by more than 30 days on your credit, you got a long way to fall down to the floor. And so it's going to ding your scores big time. And that's where we see these 100+ point drops because of one late payment. What's going on? Did this person lose their job? Are they irresponsible? Are they going through a rough patch? And so this is where the creditors and credit bureaus kind of look at you as a risk. Your risk level shoots through the roof. Now, once you've let that gone by with some time, and time kind of cures all of this, then yeah, they'll say, okay, wait, everything's fine. He's back on track. She's back on track. And so we're good. But until then, they don't know. So as soon as you get a late payment or collection, boom, scores drop. So understanding how payment history impacts your scores is huge. Stuff that's old, 3, 4, 5 years old, don't really worry about it. It does impact your credit, but it's not acute, right? If you demonstrate that you're back on track, you're going to be fine. So these are the type of things that people don't understand, don't quite understand, and they need to when it comes to credit. Now, the last thing is, what's a good credit score? Well, the truth is, when you're talking about specifically what what you need to buy a home, it really depends. But here's a general idea. Okay, 740 plus, excellent. 680 to 739, it's very good. 640 to 679 can make us, kind of give you in a tough spot, but 639 and lower is kind of a challenge. I can tell you right now, I've helped families buy homes in all of these brackets and even lower than what's demonstrated on the screen here. But it just depends on your situation. So don't let your credit, if you're not excellent, don't let that stop you from looking into this. You need to understand that there are programs, loan types, lenders that can help you despite credit challenges. All right. So that's a huge one right there. And credit repair is big. We talked about it. That's a problem. And we're going to label it and stamp it as solved. All right. That's what we're doing today. We're solving problems. Now, here's a big one. finding the right home in today's market. You know, the refi wave, when the rates were down into the ridiculous percentages, people refinance like crazy. And now here they are with a 2-3% interest rate, a mortgage payment on a house that's doubled in value, and they're sitting pretty. They are not moving. What does that do to the normal cycle of real estate? It slows it down, because normally that family that would buy a home as their first home and then move out of it because they had a baby, because their family is growing, because they want to move to a new area, they're second guessing many of their life decisions, and especially if they're going to sell their home because of their interest rate being so low. This is a very unique situation that has been created because of the pandemic and the interest rates being low and the refinance wave. So now inventory has become a problem. Let's solve it. You got a home that's out there that needs some work. There are renovation loans out there. They're not always pretty, I'll be honest, but they are out there. You can finance in the renovations for your home project. There's also loans that we don't offer that I know of, and I can connect you with folks at institutions that handle them, that basically allow you to get money to do renovations without it being tied to your home at all, like a personal loan, and it's extremely easy to qualify for. So there's things out there like that as well. I'm helping a gentleman handle that right now, or facilitate that right now. So you see a home out there that needs some work, needs some lipstick, so to speak, right? Needs a good shave, all right? Right? Let's get that home renovated, and there are ways to do it. And here's the thing: you've got an advantage on those homes because those homes are sitting a little longer. People are kind of looking at them like, and that's your chance to get a good deal. So make sure that you're working with an agent and a lender that can help facilitate a great deal on homes like that. So don't be shy, all right? But this is a problem. And listen, you need to understand how competitive it's going to be when rates come down, as they come down. They're coming down now in this space, because people, once they can afford, right, the payments, they'll be moving on it. All right, that's huge. And so that brings me to this final thing here. Few homes give the wow factor. Yeah, it's a problem, right? It's a problem. We want homes to give a wow factor, and few are. Even, newer homes where basically you've got you've got stucco boxes, so to speak. People call them stucco boxes, right? And that's been turning people off, but people still like it, and that's fine. But a lot of homes out there don't have that wow factor anymore, and so now it's created a problem. But we're gonna solve it, right? There are ways to, again, renovate your home as part of your home purchase, renovate your home right after you purchase it, utilize equity to renovate your existing property. So many different things that you can do to make things happen. Okay, so don't hide from these options. Guys, I want to give you take a second and show you how to see if you're eligible for the Community Promise Grant. All right, let's take a second and figure out how you're eligible. There's only 3 areas within Florida that are eligible. I can speak to Florida since I'm licensed here. So let's hop online and let's see if we can show you how to find if you're eligible, or if someone is eligible. Okay, so let's do that real quick. We're going to hop over to Fannie Mae's eligibility, or excuse me, median income lookup tool. I call it eligibility tool, but all right. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look up an area that I know is pretty common, and we're going to show you. Let's see here. We're going to hop over to, let's see here. I'm going to type in a Publix in an area that I know is pretty widespread eligible. So a lot of the area is eligible. And we're going to show you guys how to see if you're eligible in your area. And so again, this goes based on where you live, not where you're buying. So you can buy anywhere, but you just have to live in an area that's eligible first. All right, so I'm popping an address in here. This is to the Publix in Kissimmee. And boom, all right, this pops up. Now, what happens when this pops up? Well, this is all gibberish to most folks, but I can see clearly where it says home ready first, that this person, if they lived in this census tract, would be eligible for the Community Promise Grant. Boom. What does this mean? That means that this person, because they live in this area, and if I can get them qualified, by the many different ways that we can get folks qualified for a conventional loan, they should be able to get $6,500 plus a $500 appraisal credit on buying their next home. So if you have someone that is a first-time home buyer using a conventional loan and lives anywhere in the between the Sanford, Orlando, and Kissimmee area, okay, Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete area, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm area in Florida, anywhere in those areas, you need to have them reach out so they can see if they can grab this free $6,500 grant plus the free appraisal, right? Expanded guidelines allow us to get a little bit more in seller concessions than a normal conventional loan for these folks. There is no income limit. Again, this person might be buying in Ocala, Tallahassee, but if they live in an eligible area first, then they may qualify for this grant. So this is important to understand because we don't want people to miss out on this opportunity because we're just simply not talking about it. Okay, so let's make sure that we're helping people see if they're qualified for this grant. All right, and I can help do that. All right, so that is all for today. You guys have been so kind to join me this Wednesday morning. It's 9:30. We're just going to keep it down to 30 minutes. Problem solved this morning, okay? Problems are solved. So what we're doing now is we're looking for problems, right? Don't run away from them. Face them head on, right? Talk to people. The more conversations you have, the more you'll realize that people are just unaware of solutions. And there are solutions, okay? We talked about affordability, and we talked about ways that you can help with that. We talked about savings and lack of, and ways that you can help people and coach people to save more, right? And save up for their home. We talked about inventory issues and how homes don't have the wow factor anymore, and how you can finance in renovations, do renovations, and use those scenarios to your advantage to get the best financing terms, especially right now. And I showed you guys how to look up eligibility for a really unique product here in Florida. And there's a few other metropolitan areas in the United States that are eligible. So if you got someone relocating from one of these areas that wants to come down to Florida, certainly we can see if they're eligible. I just helped someone recently get pre-approved and they're coming down to Florida and they live in an eligible area out of state. So these are all exciting opportunities, guys, but you got to understand how it works. Got to solve the problem. We're solved this morning. It's 9:30. Thanks for watching, guys. Home Loan Drew. I'm out of here. Appreciate you guys and have a great rest of the week.